You don't need me to tell you about how impactful the original Resident Evil 4 is. I'm not going to go through the entire history of the game and why it's so beloved, but I will tell you that in late 2008, Glenn Schofield and EA's Redwood Shores looked at what Resident Evil 4 did right, put their own spin on it, and they ended up making something a little more my style. In 2023, we're playing remakes made by teams that have little to no connection to the people that made the originals. Glenn Schofield's off making fucking PUBG spin-offs, and Shinji Mikami, the director of the original RE4, has been working at now recently acquired Xbox studio Tango Gameworks, up until he announced he was leaving just a couple months ago. After taking all that into consideration though, it's easy to see why people would get worried about the faithfulness of both games, but at a glance, it's really easy to see that EA Motive and Capcom's Division 1 team have a really deep love and understanding for the originals.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Both remakes of Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 are excellent third-person shooters. They obviously have their differences, but they are cut from the same cloth, and it's no secret that the original Dead Space took a ton of inspiration from RE4. After finishing both games though and seeing the discourse around them, I can totally understand why somebody likes Resident Evil 4 more than Dead Space, but I can't do anything but disagree. Dead Space just does something fundamental for me that I don't think Resident Evil 4 competes with.
Sounds like their communication array is busted. Maybe a broken encoder. Daniels and I can handle it in 48 hours, max.
Player expression through gameplay is something that's super important to me. Whether it's taking advantage of Breath of the Wild's physics engine, Devil May Cry 5's ridiculous combo systems or playstyle variety, or The Last of Us Part 2's finely crafted encounters.
That'd be a hell of a coincidence if it
They all give the player a sense of freedom and push them to make creative decisions in the moment that feel good to pull off. I, for one, think Dead Space fits in with those games really well. As Isaac, you're given 7 distinct weapons, not counting the foam finger, each with an alt-fire mode, effectively giving you 14 ways to take care of each necromorph you find yourself up against. And they're all fun to use. The Force Gun is one of my favorites. The amount of satisfaction I get from peeling away every layer of a necromorph's skin down to their fucking bones it's unreal. It's the kind of shit you can only really pull off on a current-gen console, and I'm so glad it exists. Stasis lets you freeze whatever you hit with it in its own little slow time bubble. It's really effective for getting off. It's really effective for getting a good few shots off, or if you're just a little bitch. Kinesis lets you use things sitting around the environment as a means to deal damage. Explosives, poles, even the necromorph's limbs themselves can be cut off and shot back at them. You can use the line gun's alternate fire, these little laser traps, and attach them to a crate or something, right? Then you can use kinesis to carry the crate around you, essentially making a giant death laser. It's so fucking cool. It's a great example of what I'm going for here. Dead Space allows player creativity to flourish. And the way each enemy is designed allows you to take advantage of this creativity. Certain weapons are more effective at taking down certain enemies. The pregnant necromorph punishes inaccuracy by letting out these little dickheads if you shoot in the stomach, so maybe you want to hit it with a stasis so you can get a better shot off. The slasher's arms are blades that you can use to impale other enemies with once you chop them off. The baby is really fun to stomp. It's not that Resident Evil 4 doesn't have these qualities at all. There's a few times where the game straight up excels in this way. The original wouldn't be lauded as one of the greatest games of all fucking time if that weren't the case, but the way each game tackles player expression is different. The way I look at it, if Dead Space's gameplay focus is at its core weapon and enemy variety, then I would consider RE4's to be its encounters. The village section in the opening is the best example of this, and probably the most memorable part of the entire game to me. The best level design in the game by far, with Plenty of paths that weave between houses and back alleys, a ton of houses to shut yourself in for a little breathing room, and a couple of these houses have a second floor and access to roofs for you to take advantage of. I just adore how the level design is in service of you and the Ganado. They have just as much access to these houses, these upper floors, these roofs as you do, and they will use the paths that maybe you don't know about at first to get the upper hand on you. And I love how it works in the context of someone who's never experienced it before, like me. I reloaded my save multiple times just so I could play it again to learn the village inside and out. The pressure of being up against a literal endless horde of zombies with not much firepower to work with forces you to learn the ins and outs of the village way faster than you want to. It's genius. I could gush about it like forever. There's also like these context sensitive situations that I think are really cool, like being able to shoot the bell in the village to end the first big fight early, or being able to kill Salazar with a golden egg. The fact that it's foreshadowed, the ability to do that is foreshadowed in a side quest is so clever too. Like I really love shit like that. The thing is, we don't get another village really. Hey, editor's note. Skimming through this footage again, I just realized that I parried an axe throw with one of my flash grenades. Everything I'm about to say regarding this game is void. This game rules. There's nothing wrong with it. All right, back to it. We don't get a lot of encounters that make us think, split-second decisions that mean the difference between life and death. Not many fights that I wanted to play over and over again, besides maybe the valley area. We get the castle and the island, and those are great locales, but they aren't expanded upon in the level design compared to what we got before. On the combat side of things, there are a lot of weapons to choose from. You get pistols, shotguns, rifles, dog shit. All the pistols are pretty similar though, and all the shotguns feel very similar. The variety looks like it's there, but the applications they have aren't very different from each other inside their respective classes. Let's be real, whether you succeed in Resident Evil 4 or not really depends on how good you are at headshots. That's not to downplay the actual gunplay though. I played this with gyro aim on PC, and it's probably the most satisfying, responsive third-person gyro shooting I've ever experienced. It's just the options the game gives you leaves a little to be desired. I think the enemy variety also leaves a lot to be desired. There are Ganado that carry different kinds of weapons, like an axe or a pitchfork they'll charge you with, and ones that throw Molotovs and dynamite at you. Once you get deeper into the game, there will be a lot of Ganado whose head fucking explodes into this tentacle or mouth thing that can most easily be dispatched with a flash grenade. There are also a lot of rarer enemies later in the game, like the regenerators and these guys who can definitely, for sure, only use sound to find out where you are. But the worst Ganado, by far, are the ones without any weapons. They'll grab you and slow the pace of the fight to a halt. I find them so fucking annoying. I just listed off what sounds like a good amount of enemy variety, but the thing they all have in common is most of these enemies can be shut down with a shot to the head and a kick to the face. Not much to think about, just how fast you can get a shot off, and if you're lucky, you'll stun one in the middle of a group and get the chance to kick 2 or 3 in the face at the same time. One aspect of the game that I think shines through though is the merchant and RE4's economy in general. You don't have unlimited money, but if you take the time collecting every jewel and pay attention to what combinations of jewels laid into other treasures give you maximum resale value, you have the chance to try out every weapon in the game and upgrade a lot of them, which is a great reward for the player's time. I think it was also really smart of Capcom to not allow you to buy ammo from the merchant. It just ups that survival horror aspect a little bit more. The knife and body armor repair is cool too. I never had a problem funding those repairs every time I hit up the merchant, but I can see how somebody with less funds might have to choose between a flat damage reduction with the body armor and a chance to negate damage with more parries. While I don't think it matches Dead Space's offerings in quite the same way, I have more fun with those in-the-moment decisions compared to Resident Evil 4's. But Resident Evil 4 rewards a player for playing the long game, and I respect that. There is a lot to love about Resident Evil 4, obviously, like the character interactions.
You got a smoke?
You know, those things will kill you. Oh, well, maybe just untie me then, huh?
The exploration and the side objectives, I just think it lacks in places where it really counts, and it keeps it from being truly masterpiece level to me.